Have you ever been trusted with a secret so heavy that speaking up could destroy multiple lives, but staying silent makes you question your own morals? This is the story of friendship, blurred boundaries, quiet manipulation, and a truth that exploded whether I wanted it to or not. This story has been years in the making, so let's start at the very beginning. Have you ever met someone, and by the end of that first conversation, felt like you'd known them for years? That's exactly how it was when I, 20F at the time, met my then best friend, 21F. For the sake of this story, I'll call her Jade. Jade and I met through our husbands. They became friends a few months before we did, bonding over a shared passion. My husband kept telling me that I'd really like Jade and that we'd get along well. He was right. Jade had a baby girl, and she was truly a sweet little angel. Over time, our friendship grew incredibly close, so close that Jade asked my husband and me to be her daughter's godparents. I'm Christian, so I fully understood the weight and responsibility that came with that role. At the time, Jade and her husband Rob, 23M then, were not in a healthy relationship. Whenever we visited them, Jade would open up about Rob's controlling behavior, and I would sit there listening, supporting her, and validating her feelings. Rob was the only one working and never let Jade forget it. He used his job as an excuse to avoid responsibilities at home. He'd come back, spend nearly an hour in the bathroom, scroll on his phone, then go to sleep. He rarely helped with their daughter or household tasks. Rob also wanted to move to a new place, but because he was the sole earner, they couldn't afford it. So Jade needed to get a job. There was another issue, though. Jade didn't have a driver's license because Rob refused to let her drive. He blamed her health, but it quickly became clear to me that it was another way to maintain control and make her feel dependent. Eventually, Jade found a job right next to where Rob worked. Coincidentally, I worked just a few shops down, so we started spending our lunch breaks together regularly. As time passed, our bond grew stronger. My husband and I, who were dating at the time, got married, but we began having marital issues of our own. Jade and I would vent together, complain, sometimes gush about our partners, just sharing life. I understood that Jade and Rob weren't happy, but from what she told me, I assumed their struggles were similar to mine. I was wrong. Jade began talking about her ex, whom I'll call John. She told me that John and his wife had come to visit and that all of them had grown close as friends. Jade said John never stopped loving her, but she had fallen for Rob, gotten pregnant, and married him before the baby was born. John eventually married Mary, a detail that would later become very important. This all happened during a short but intense period. I fell pregnant with my first child, and Jade was incredibly supportive. That's when things started getting complicated. Jade talked more and more about John. She told me they were messaging, and that John and Mary would visit often. John spent time with Jade's daughter, more time, honestly, than Rob ever did. From the way Jade spoke, it was clear she saw John as a better partner and started viewing Rob in the worst possible light. Rob wasn't perfect, but there were moments where he genuinely tried. He even seemed to be working on some of his controlling tendencies. Still, Jade's perspective kept shifting. Eventually, the conversations crossed into deeply personal territory. Jade told me she and John were planning to leave their partners so they could be together. This went on for months, and I couldn't ignore what it had become, an emotional affair. I didn't know what to do. I spoke to my husband, hoping he'd have some advice. After a serious discussion, we agreed that Rob deserved to know, but before that, I wanted Jade to come clean herself. Turns out, none of that mattered. At 5 a.m., I got frantic messages from Jade. She knows. She's going to tell Rob. She sent screenshots to Rob. I was close to giving birth, so my sleep schedule was already chaotic, and I was awake when the messages came through. I called Jade, and we spoke for over an hour. I told her the truth. Mary already had proof, and deleting messages wouldn't fix anything. I told her she needed to prepare for what was coming. I asked if she truly wanted to leave Rob, or if it was just a fantasy. She admitted it was mostly fantasy, but that a part of her would always want to leave because she felt so small in the relationship. My advice was simple: be honest. Don't shift the blame. Don't lie. When my husband woke up, I explained everything and warned him Rob might reach out. Later that day, Jade and Rob asked to meet us. We agreed and invited them over for coffee. Rob asked how much Jade had told me. I told him honestly that I didn't want to be involved in their marriage, but I was there for support if needed. I also spoke to my pastor, who advised that they urgently needed counseling. He was certified in trauma, childhood, and marital counseling, so I suggested him. They went to one session. Jade later told me Rob refused to continue, saying it was a waste of time. But when I spoke to Rob, his story didn't quite match. The truth came out. Rob felt threatened by my pastor. He was convinced Jade would become interested in him simply because he was kind, single, and supportive. Trust issues ran deep. Time passed. John and Mary divorced and cut contact with Jade and Rob. I gave birth to my son and later invited Jade and Rob over to meet him. What came next turned everything upside down. Rob had actually initiated an open relationship shortly after their daughter was born. Jade technically never broke the rules. Rob just hated that others found out and didn't want to admit the arrangement out of embarrassment. They had even gone on couple getaways with others in similar situations. Rob was upset that Jade received more attention. He wanted the freedom without the consequences. Before Mary exposed everything, Rob had even asked my husband and me whether we'd ever consider an open marriage. I was stunned, completely speechless. I firmly told him that was never going to happen and that I didn't appreciate marriage being treated so casually. After that night, communication faded. Eventually, Jade reached out to tell me they were divorcing. I told her it was probably the healthiest decision. They were deeply unhealthy together. Jade moved on with someone new and seems genuinely content. Rob also started a new relationship and is now engaged. And that's the messy truth. I think this story isn't really about infidelity. It's about control, secrecy, and blurred boundaries. When communication breaks down and power dynamics go unchecked, everyone ends up hurt. Staying silent doesn't always mean approval, and sometimes truth finds its way out regardless of who tries to contain it. So, AITA for keeping something to myself that wasn't truly mine to reveal? Or was silence the only respectful choice until the truth surfaced on its own? Sometimes, doing nothing is still a decision, and not every secret is ours to expose.